It is the first full week of Q4 2023. Everyone's fired up. We're talking about big trucks popping the batteries out. We don't need those batteries. Auto Stocks took one on the chin last week and creepy tracking. Creepy tracking. It's Halloween time. You got to use the word creepy more.
Creepy tracking. Ooh.
Creepy tracking survey.
People are tracking you. Did you know?
I didn't even know that. People track me. People track me digitally.
This is random story. Random story number one. Ready? So last night, Nashville soccer game, they like give you this. I don't know if you've ever been to a game. They give you a little wristband and then they do a little LED show. Yeah, hockey inside.
Wait, like a wristband where you hold it up and it's
you
like
hold it up
things?
and then they've got it programmed so that it like goes off. Right?
Wait, that's at soccer games? I thought that was at like Coldplay concerts.
All of them. You can do them
Whoa.
anywhere. It's beautiful. Yeah. So they did it last night, but I'm walking away. I'm like, do they know where I am now? You know, they're like serving ads to this cat. You know, you just always got to ask.
Oh, what's up? Yes, they do. They probably do. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for saying hi on the live stream and joining us. It's always great to have the live crew rocking and rolling with us, knowing that you are pushing forward like we're pushing forward. A lot of stuff coming up this week. We're going to make announcements quick. Kyle and I were like, we got to get done with the announcements and getting into the news stories more. We're going to be in Miami Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at the NAMED convention. If you're going to be there, make sure you come and say hi. Good. We also are doing something at Brian Pash's Modern Retail Conference. You can check out what we're doing at ASOTU.com/MRC. And we also have 2 podcasts that are releasing new episodes in addition to this one every day. One is called Auto Collabs. Search it up. The other one is called ASOTU Sessions, which we recorded live at ASOTU. I haven't even heard them all yet because other people were interviewing them.
So awesome. Today's is Dr. Nicole Lipkin, and if you remember her Auto Collabs episode, you're going to want to check out her ASOTU Sessions episode today. Her. So ASOTU Sessions presented by Effective. Let's get rolling. Come on.
Okay, Monday. Speaking of rolling, we're going to start with the segue. I had to do it.
I didn't expect that one.
I know. Sometimes surprise you on a Monday. Big news for big trucks. Ready? They aren't going anywhere.
Really?
As EV mania continues to envelop the retail automotive industry, heavy-duty trucks, the ones that have the little HD that all my farmer neighbors have, are the only segment whose gas and diesel-powered engine investments continue by Detroit's Big Three. So get this. I almost fell out of my chair. This is a hugely profitable segment, right? It's a small segment, but the profits are high. The margins are great. According to Automotive News, Ford Motor Company says it gets more revenue from Super Duty truck sales alone, more revenue than Southwest Airlines, more revenue than Marriott International, and many other Fortune 500 companies. I knew that was coming.
Paul, so you're telling me that Ford, from its Super Duty sales alone, just them guys, the big trucks, more revenue than Southwest Airlines. That is unbelievable.
I could not believe it when I read that, but it makes sense. Like everything about those trucks is expensive.
Yep.
You know, it's funny because people will look at somebody that has like a Lexus and you'd be like, oh, they're fancy. They have a Lexus, and that Lexus could cost like $42,000.
Right.
Meanwhile, you know, my brother, the farmer next to me, pulls up in a 6-figure Super Duty truck. I mean, but everything's expensive, even like brakes and shock, everything.
Yep.
Those things are just made to work.
And you look in some of those and they are built for, they're not like a work truck with the vinyl floor. These things are built for like luxury. It is impressive. And yeah, you just said it, you know, if you can afford things like the new brakes or the new tires or the new whatever that truck needs, like it's a business. That's a work truck. That's the
difference. I mean, that's the difference, right? You need that thing. That thing is actually, in a lot of cases, is a producer. So Ford, Chevy, and Dodge, they all have new technologies rolling out in the new models of these vehicles. Everything from, to your point, of them being both cushy and work-minded, 5G hotspots, built in for over-the-air updates, and obviously so we can, surf the internet, play video games, keep the kids happy, all that stuff. Some other stuff too, like things like backup cameras that work when the tailgate's down, and some driver assist features when you're towing. So they're true work trucks, right? Construction, mining, emergency utility work. and EV technology and those things just don't get along.
You just think about the persona
work.
of the person in that truck, and they're like, it's just no one picketing for Greenpeace. I'm just calling it like that.
No, they're not. But strangely enough, they are some of the people that are most in tune in a lot of cases with nature and the earth.
With nature, exactly. Like they care for
dichotomy
nature.
There.
It's really an interesting dichotomy. Yeah.
So during a media reveal of the new Super Duty line at Churchill Downs, the horse racing track, Ford CEO Jim Farley said, if you're pulling 10,000 pounds, an electric truck is not the right solution. And 95% of our customers tow more than 10,000 pounds.
Wow.
How about that?
It's pretty wild.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, look, I've said there's so much in industry that is going to continue to require. I mean, you know, I saw some articles about, you know, electric flying, right? Like electric propulsion for flying. Yep. The weight of those things,
the battery,
it's
like
unbelievable.
physics.
So, like you're looking at like that, like large machinery trucks and things that work on compounds and trucks like this. I mean, there's what needs to happen is there needs to be a renewed focus to how that energy or maybe hydrogen fuel cell technology can be better for those, right? Because moving to EV, like it's just not a practical solution, even by the year 2035.
2035. Yeah, you got I'd add a little number to that.
Oh,
that's
wow.
I didn't think about this too. Even with aviation, you have a thought too. Think when you're flying a plane, the plane actually gets lighter the longer you fly.
Yes.
Right. So from an efficiency standpoint, think of what that has to do to range.
Yep.
Right. It's just getting lighter and lighter with the battery.
When it's heavy the whole time.
A battery, that sucker just like flying a brick around.
What are California and New York gonna? Is it just? I didn't read this. Is it just like small vehicle sales, or are they gonna?
They made an exception.
Okay.
They made an exception for heavy duty trucks. Yeah, they don't talk about that in the news release, but I did see that in this article that they made an exception because look. Yeah. When there's something like a hurricane or something like that, you don't want to hear, well, we got to wait till the fleet's charged up. They've been out all day, right? I don't think anybody wants to hear that. Oh, and by the way, there's no power, and it's really hard to truck in power.
Yes.
Right? There's a whole bunch of things where you don't want your emergency vehicles, hung up on that. Speaking of getting hung up.
Stop. Segue. Time.
We didn't talk about this last Friday because we had other things to talk about, but it's worth circling back around. Auto stocks took a formative blow last week, with CarMax leading the way with almost 25% drop in its share price, due to a big miss on earnings forecasts and a turbulent look for the used car market. So CarMax revenue was up year over year, but way below the kind of consensus analyst estimates, and dropped their shares. I mean, now that culmination was like at $120 at the beginning of the year. So it's down by half, right?
It still kind of blows my mind because many.
Oh, you almost went Irish on me. Blows me mind.
It blows me mind. Because many of the retailers that you and I know are having wild successes, way exceeding any sort of expectation that they would have had for this year. But these larger conglomerates that are much more swung by things like interest rate changes or dynamics in the market or ability to acquire inventory, which is getting tougher and tougher because the retailers we know are getting better at acquiring the inventory that CarMax would have historically. So, I think that there's a lot of factors that are playing into this, some of which are the public factors, which is what most of the articles that I've read are pointing to, but some of them are on kind of the privatized side that maybe not a lot of people are looking at. That is really this balance between like the smaller dealers and these larger conglomerates.
It's funny that you mentioned that. One of the articles that I almost included in today's show has to do with what's happening in the auctions. Big automotive news story. What's happening in the auctions, and you look at the auction volume, and like I think the auction volume, the most recent one, I think it was like 380,000 was the number. At its high, like when we came out of the pandemic, it was like, I think it was like 800,000, but I had to go all the way back to like 2016, 2015 to see when 380,000 was kind of a normal thing. So we're way back down to what we were like 5-6 years ago.
Yep.
And, the people cited in the article were just talking about dealers have just gotten a lot better at like every entrepreneur, right? Something changes. What do? You figure it out how to get it done another way. And that shifts the whole market dynamic of what used to be the way of doing business. And a big part of that is acquiring inventory from unconventional sources, primarily buying cars off the curb. We talk about it every week.
Yeah. If you go to a clubhouse room, convention, or LinkedIn post and you don't see something about buying vehicles off the street, then you're just missing the thing. And so, I think that CarMax is probably
sign out the CarMax.
Man,
they're like, we had that sucker nailed it. Yeah, that is it. Really. They did have it figured out way in advance, and it was too much work for dealers to figure it out too. Right. The need wasn't great enough. Dealers were making enough money. It was easy enough to go to the auction and scoop up truckloads of inventory. Not anymore. And so, not looking, I would say not looking so great, but again, great companies. I would never count them out. CarMax knows how to manage a business. Right. And when you look at their share price to earnings, right, the weighing machine of their share price is actually low. Right. So a lot of people would say it's a value right now based on their actual fundamentals, their financials, their ability to manage through crisis. They've managed through a whole lot of things, over the last decade. So don't count them out. But some other shares, GM, Ford, they were down at about 5%. While AutoNation, Lithia, Driveway, Group 1, they all fell between 7 and 10%. So a little correction action going on.
Yes, there's still some of these big groups. Now, I do have to say it was very interesting because what I'm going to call the CEO quote of the year, meaning we're going to see about 800 CEOs make the same quote in the next 3 months, is obviously consumers are having to make decisions. I just think they are prioritizing their spend a little differently. Like, put that in a quote board, slap any CEO's name on it, and let's roll. But that was said by CEO William Nash just a few days ago.
CarMax. No, that's so good, right? It was unprecedented times was last year.
Unprecedented times, yes.
This year, as consumers have to make what is it?
Unprecedented times. You're on mute. Consumers have to make decisions. That's the 3 years in a row right there for you.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Speaking about making decisions for consumers, seemingly.
Segue.
I'm feeling good. 3 segues in a show.
Let's go.
It actually might have been the 4th.
It's a Monday of a 5 Saturday month, Paul. So we have to be geared up.
Right, we had a Friday close. A new Cheetah Digital survey across 5,400 consumers. This is global too. This isn't just like a U.S. bucket. It's Australia, France, Japan, Spain, the UK, Ireland, and the U.S. Those survey find that targeted ads and personalized emails make consumers feel creepy, in quotes, but more boomers than younger generations.
Well,
big surprise there.
Wow.
Right. So in comparison to a 2021 survey, though, more members of younger generations also found such marketing techniques to be quote unquote cool, as reported by Retail Wire. So basically, what they did was they surveyed people to say, like, hey, does this seem creepy or not? And this includes segments like ads that follow you across devices, ads from unknown companies based on your location data, ads related to something you talked about near a smart device. That's always a good topic of conversation. And social media ads based on retail shopping. So it's obvious. Who do you think was the most creeped out, Kyle?
Boomers.
Yes. And then next, it just goes right down the timeline. Gen X, the millennials. However, no. However, Gen Z is more creeped out than millennials.
See,
I'm surprised by that.
Yeah, it's just weird to me. Like, I mean, maybe that's because their parents are Gen Xers. Is that what it is?
I think it's actually because millennials are doing most of the targeting. Is my guess. That's my like anecdotal.
That's
like
a pretty strong guess. I like.
I think there are more millennials actually kind of like turning the dials and switching. Right? You think who's actually doing all that, and you're like, oh yeah, a lot of them get paid to do that, so they're less freaked out about it.
They're like this. That's me, right? I'm like, turn on all the cross app tracking.
But it's not just you. Just think of entrepreneurs, small business owners, right? Like people that have a side hustle, right? All those people know how to use Facebook ads, right?
Yes,
exactly. They need it to work. And so that makes sense that they're, to me, maybe one of the reasons, maybe it's not, it's just my guess, just my thought. So Ken Weicker. So I got this from a site called Retail Wire that you and I look at and reference often. Yeah. And they have a cool way they do the comments. The way they do the comments is like they have something called a brain trust, and they kind of vet commenters, and they give you a little commentary. So Ken Weicker, president of Circular Logic, said, using third-party data from other sources, he's like, basically, here are the two options on how we can either make this creepy or not creepy. We can either use third-party data from other sources to target the customer, creep factor would be high, or use first-party data to provide first-party data that the customer provides to us to actually serve the customer, creep factor low. I thought it was pretty insightful.
Yeah, I mean, to me, they're about the same thing, but I like the first-party data serving the customer. That is definitely, it's going to be a lot closer. You've probably done business or at least engaged with that type of brand already. But I don't know. I don't
know if that high and low. I think maybe higher and lower would be the right words to use, right? Because exactly. if my dealership's sending me information saying it's time for an oil change, right? I'm good with that.
Yeah, and I'm good with that on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, wherever I'm at. I'm good with that. If you email me or throw it to me on an ad, I'm good with it because it's placed in the right timeline. I understand why you're communicating me. You're just doing it in the medium that I am found in most likely at that moment. So, that I don't know. I just keep telling people, turn the cross app tracking on. Don't worry about they've got so much data on you. Losing a little bit of it right now, not a huge deal. And yes, they are listening. And I think it's pretty cool.
Yes, they are listening. And no, there isn't anything you can do about it. Well, thanks for spending a few minutes with us here on this Monday morning. We hope that you're a little fired up, a little energized, ready to get out there, serve some people, make some difference, buy some new cars, and all that other stuff.